Welcome to another FPL team selection video. This is the final version. I did upload one around a week ago, but a few updates have happened since, such as with Ramsdale and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I also have a few new plans. And I actually was using FPL.team as always, looking ahead to future weeks. And I think I may have found something that I'm going to stick with. And it also sets me up well, not only for Game Week 31, but also Game Weeks 32, 33, and beyond. So let's get straight into it. I provided a full review of Game Week 30 in my original team selection video, so if you want to check that out. But to summarise, the Wolves' defence was an absolute catastrophe. It was looking pretty certain for a clean sheet, but that red card from Jimenez changed everything. I actually was considering Barnes and Harry Kane in for Son and Jimenez, so pretty identical in the end because of Jimenez's red card. But Son was the best captaincy choice. I would have taken a -4 for those moves, and now I have 2 free transfers in Game Week 31, which is invaluable in my opinion. And as for the rest, obviously Salah and Adams blanked, same with everyone else on my bench, and Ramsdale missed out through injury, but he was going to be on my bench anyway, so that would have also been a bad mistake from my part. Saka and Son pretty much carried me this week. The rest all producing blanks, which is a bit of a shame, but Tierney also getting the clean sheet. Everyone else very disappointing though. Rafinha missing out due to illness. I decided to just keep him and not make a late move to Barnes, which was also under consideration in the last deadline stream. But speaking of deadline streams, there should be one fairly soon, within the next day of course, before that deadline, so stay tuned for that. Let's go into Game Week 31, how my team is landing up right now, and then to FPL.team using the new feature where you can compare 2 different drafts. This is the perfect time to talk about Ramsdale and Trent specifically, and I discussed this also in the Rating Your Team stream yesterday, so if you want to also check that out, it was a great blast going through all of your teams. We went through over 20 I think in the end, which was great. So with Ramsdale, he hasn't trained yet, and he is actually a severe doubt for that game on the 4th of April against Crystal Palace. Now I personally think he will be available, but all the signs don't really point towards that conclusion. That's just kind of a gut feeling. I could be wrong about that. But Ramsdale hasn't trained yet, which is very worrying, and maybe Arsenal won't rush him back in. For those of you with Ramsdale and Foster, just keep an eye on that situation, because obviously Foster's playing Liverpool. You wouldn't want him coming on for Ramsdale, and this could be a great opportunity for you to move on to Nick Pope, Schmeichel, or another goalkeeper. As for Trent Alexander-Arnold, he hasn't actually participated in full team training. He's been doing some light jogging and personal training, but he's away from the group, and he looks to be a doubt as well for Game Week 31 against Watford. I think he'll be fine definitely for Game Week 32 and possibly Match Day 9 of UCL Fantasy against Benfica, but I'm not sure if Jurgen Klopp will risk it against Watford. They could easily put James Milner there at right back or someone else, possibly Joe Gomez. I don't think they need to put Trent Alexander-Arnold and rush him back in. So that is going to be a cause for concern. And for those of you who are down to the bare bones at the back line, maybe you could make a switch there. If you don't have Robertson, for example, Trent Robertson is actually a good move. He's been in better form anyway, and he could also cover that Game Week 31 fixture. 32 is pretty difficult anyway against Manchester City, and then 33, a single game week against Man United, which you'd probably favour the attackers anyway, but the fullbacks are obviously always a great option. So Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ramsdale both look unlikely to actually feature in Game Week 31, but you never know. We're going to have to just keep waiting for those updates, and there's going to be press conferences later today as well to confirm any of this. So maybe by the time this video is out, then we will have the full details. As for Bukayo Saka, there has been some more positive news. Arsenal expect him to be fit and available in time for that Palace game. That's going to be a really tough proposition anyway, but Saka has 5 goals in his last 5 away games, so he's been really crucial to the Gunners, and he's been a great FPL option, so I'm very happy to have signed him. And honestly, that's the kind of big good news surrounding this. Dubravka actually today, by the way, for any of you who do have the Newcastle goalkeeper, it looks like he's clear and fit to play for Newcastle's next game. The same goes for Saint-Maximin and a few other key additions to that Newcastle squad. And looking at the rest, Doherty at home to Newcastle, it's actually not ideal. I think Newcastle could score in that game, especially with those players returning for the Toons. And then Salah is my captain right now, and if I had Kane, I would heavily consider going for Harry Kane, but it's between Salah and Son in my team, and I still would favour Salah. A lot of people are kind of questioning the psyche of the Egyptian following their elimination from the World Cup in their qualifier against Senegal, once again knocked out by them. But I still think Salah's a great option, and very unlucky obviously with the penalty and all the lasers pointed at him, but he's still my captain. I think he can really come good in this game. I don't buy into this. He's never going to pass to Mane again. Obviously, most of it is banter anyway. Rafinha's at home to Southampton. I really like him for these next 2 games, but as I said in my transfer tips video, I think he's ultimately a sell by game week 33. It just depends when you're going to sell him, whether it's now or in 33. But Leeds have been looking decent under Jesse Marsch, and they showed great fighting spirit against Wolves. I think Rafinha could be a great option here against Southampton. Hopefully a high-scoring game for both teams. I've also got 2 Southampton forwards right now in Broja and Adams, but if I decide to make 1 or even 2 transfers, Broja would then drop to the bench. I'm not sure if he's going to start. If he does, I wouldn't mind starting him, but we just don't know that, and we won't know before the deadline. Son as my vice-captain, I'm not too fussed about that. His record against Newcastle isn't as great as Harry Kane, but then you can reverse that and say, well, Heung-min Son has actually got the best home record of any player and the most goals. So it kind of goes both ways. Heung-min Son is a great option at home, and that's why if you're looking to take a -4 or a -8 to get to Harry Kane when Son has a home fixture, maybe I would reconsider it, but definitely in those away games, Harry Kane has come into a league of his own, and he's actually the all-time highest scoring player in away games. And as for Kulusevski at home to Newcastle, also pretty happy with him, but I'd rather go for Harry Kane up front structurally. But this is something I may do around game week 34, as I'll show you in the FPL.team section. As for my bench, I could put Tierney instead of Cody as my first sub, but that doesn't really matter. Jimenez is obviously suspended until game week 34 because Wolves blank in 33, and he's already received a red card this season against Manchester City, so therefore he's going to miss 2 games rather than 1. Jose Sa is also my bench. He could come on for Ramsdale if needed, so I don't really need to worry about my goalkeepers. And also, when you're looking at Nick Pope, he is facing Manchester City, and I just don't really expect a clean sheet there. And it could be a task to even get positive points, so that would be a bit of a concern. Pope is still a great option until the end of the season, though, with plenty of doubles and some good fixtures. But I think I'm going to stay put with my goalkeepers and focus on my outfield players. So now let me show you my FPL.team plans and show you the new feature. And I'm not promoting the site. It's just a really good tool. The same goes for livefpl.net. I've always used those sites and shown you in these videos, but let's get straight into it. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the plan, which involves moving Jimenez onto Weghorst for 1 free transfer and rolling the other one. Heading into game week 32, I'd also have 2 free transfers. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the Harry Kane plan, as I call it, and this is where I get Harry Kane in for Jimenez, but that involves getting rid of Son because I have 3 Spurs players already, and it also gives me that income that I need. So I get someone like Kai Havertz in midfield, and then I can also make another switch, whether it's Trent down to another defender like Reece James or someone else, or I could do Rafinha to Gordon or another budget midfielder. So let me know what you would prefer from the left-hand side and the right. But I'm also going to toggle between different game weeks. And I did this when I rated your teams yesterday in the stream. So the bench would be fairly similar. It doesn't really matter anyway. It could be Tierney first sub. It could be Cody. They all have an argument and a fair shout of being first on the bench. But I think they would all stick there. Looking at Doherty, he is the one player that I think could be dropped to the bench anyway for one of those defenders like Tierney or Cody. So that's something I'm yet to decide with either plan. And in terms of the captaincy, I would probably go for Salah still. But if I brought Kane in, I definitely would consider it. I think he's the only other player that I'd heavily consider for the captaincy over Salah. And some people think that Salah might be benched in game week 31, but then you look at all the other players involved in international duty, Diaz in the World Cup qualifiers against Venezuela, etc. So it's going to be a bit difficult. Then you look at Sadio Mane, of course, facing off Salah, and Diego Jota facing North Macedonia. So there's a lot of games to consider, but I ultimately think that Salah will play. And if anything, it's just going to be very difficult to predict that Liverpool front three. But I'd expect Salah to try to bounce back as soon as possible. And I expect him to start. So I think he's going to be my captain with either plan. And then looking at game week 32, which is also going to be pretty interesting as well, to say the least, I would probably captain Son, or in the case of the Harry Kane plan, it would be Harry Kane. I haven't actually made future transfers as well. I just wanted to make these transfers in game week 31 and see how that would impact future weeks. So the reason why I'm preferring the team on the left is because going into game week 33, I could have 2 free transfers and possibly bring in Bruno Fernandes in for Heung-min Son. And in game week 32, by the way, it would have been Jose Sa downgraded to Foster in order to give me enough money to bring Bruno Fernandes in for Heung-min Son. And I could also make other moves as well, but I don't even have to. Now, going into game week 34 with this plan on the left-hand side, I could then bring in a double game week player. If Coutinho and Aston Villa have a double against Burnley, then Coutinho could come in for Bruno Fernandes, and that gives me enough money to bring in Harry Kane for Che Adams. And that's why I prefer the plan on the left. I think I have less flexibility with the Harry Kane team on the right, And there's also a few problems with some of the players I bring in, like Kai Havertz. I'm just not sure if he's going to play every single game because of the Champions League and the FA Cup. There is actually a possibility of Lukaku playing in the Premier League and then Havertz being rested for that really important Champions League fixture. But there's so many different ways to go about it, and I still think Havertz is the first choice. It's just Chelsea don't have as much to play for in the Premier League. So when you kind of weigh things up, I think the team on the left does look better. And then when you look at game weeks, for example, like Game Week 33, I'm also in a better position in Game Week 33 to get someone like Bruno Fernandes in and captain them. I just don't have the funds in order to do that with my Game Week 33 team on the right hand side. And I also wouldn't bring in Harry Kane in Game Week 31 for a hit and then also bring him out ahead of Game Week 33 only to bring Harry Kane back in. I just think that's too many transfers, booking them in, and I think the team on the left would look stronger in the long term, despite the fact that in Game Week 31, arguably, the team on the right does look very, very good. So let me know what you think of these two teams, but ultimately, I think I would rather go for the team on the left and just get Weghorst in on the left hand side for Raul Jimenez, and if not, I can just dead end that spot with Cucho Hernandez, Mateta, or even Gelhardt, and then focus on getting Harry Kane in around Game Week 34. But that's pretty much my plans right now, and it's just a rough kind of idea. It's basically a decision of, do I get Weghorst in or another cheap striker, or do I use both free transfers or possibly even take a -4 to get Harry Kane in? That is the big dilemma, but right now I'm looking to possibly just roll the other transfer and use one and get rid of Raul Jimenez. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or stream. There's also the FPL New CL Fantasy playlist, so you can check out all the content there. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. We recently reached 1,000 followers on both platforms, so thank you very much. You can also join the Discord server and become a channel member or a Patreon, so check all of those things out in the description below. Enjoy the football, take care, and I'll see you next time.